Welcome to Chapter 10. Until now, we've looked at the world through the producer's eyes: costs, supply, hiring workers. In this chapter, we cross to the other side of the market and study the buyers. We begin with the demand curve and the law of demand. For many chapters, we've built up the seller's side: production, costs, the supply curve, and the labor market. Now we meet the other half of every market, the side that decides how much to buy. We meet the buyers. So what exactly is demand? Demand is the quantity that buyers want to buy at each price. Notice it isn't a single number. It's a whole schedule, giving one quantity for every possible price. Let's make it concrete with coffee. Imagine the monthly demand for packs of coffee in a market. We'll track how many packs buyers want to buy at 3 different prices, from expensive to cheap. Here is the demand schedule. At a price of 25 shekels a pack, buyers want 10 packs. At 20 shekels, 18 packs. And at 10 shekels, 30 packs. Read it across. When coffee is expensive, at 25 shekels, buyers take only 10 packs. At 20 shekels, they take 18. And when it's cheap, at 10 shekels, they take 30 packs. This pattern is the law of demand. A higher price leads to a lower quantity demanded, and a lower price leads to a higher quantity demanded. Price and quantity move in opposite directions. Now let's put this on a graph. By convention, price goes on the vertical axis and quantity on the horizontal axis. Each row of our table becomes a single point on that graph. Here are our 3 points: 25 and 10, up at the top left where price is high and quantity small; 20 and 18 in the middle; and 10 and 30, down at the lower right where price is low and quantity large. Connect the points and we get the demand curve. It slopes downward from the high price, low quantity corner to the low price, high quantity corner. This downward slope is the visual signature of the law of demand. But why does demand slope downward? The first reason is substitution. When coffee gets more expensive, some buyers switch to substitutes, like tea or a cheaper brand. As they switch away, the quantity of coffee demanded falls. The second reason is the income effect. When the price rises, each pack eats up more of your limited budget. With the same income, you can simply afford fewer packs, so you buy less. And the third reason is diminishing value. Each additional pack of coffee is worth a little less to you than the one before. So you'll only be tempted to buy more packs if the price comes down. Put together, the demand curve summarizes buyers' willingness to buy at every possible price. Pick any price you like, go across to the curve, and it tells you the quantity buyers will want. Every point on the curve is a price-quantity pair. It says, at this price, buyers want exactly this much. For instance, the point 20 shekels and 18 packs is one such pair sitting right on our curve. Now here's an important idea about reading the curve. When the price of coffee itself changes, we slide from one point to another along the very same curve. Economists call this a change in the quantity demanded. And only the goods' own price moves us along the curve. A change in the price of coffee is a movement along the demand curve. Anything else, as we'll see, shifts the entire curve instead. Hold that distinction. Now let's extract something powerful from this curve. The buyer's total spending on coffee is simply the price times the quantity they buy. Price times quantity gives total spending in the market. Let's compute spending at each price. At 25 shekels times 10 packs, that's 250 shekels. At 20 times 18, 360. And at 10 times 30, 300. Look carefully at that spending column. 250, then 360, then 300. As the price falls, spending first rises and then falls. It is not constant. Why does it move like that? Go from 25 shekels to 20. The price drops only a little, but the quantity jumps from 10 packs all the way to 18, a big response. So total spending rises from 250 to 360. Now go from 20 shekels to 10. This time the price halves, but quantity only climbs from 18 to 30, a much weaker response. So total spending falls from 360 back down to 300. So whether a price cut raises or lowers total spending depends on one thing: how strongly the quantity responds to the change in price. A strong response and a weak response give opposite results. This responsiveness has a name: elasticity. Elasticity measures how responsive the quantity demanded is to a change in price. We'll study it in depth in a later chapter. For now, just notice that it's what controls spending. When the quantity responds strongly to price, demand is elastic, and a price cut actually raises total spending. The flood of extra packs sold more than makes up for charging less on each one. But when the quantity responds weakly, demand is inelastic, and a price cut lowers total spending. The handful of extra packs sold isn't enough to cover the revenue lost on the lower price. Now, an essential assumption behind the whole curve. The demand curve is drawn holding all else equal, what economists call ceteris paribus. Along a single demand curve, only the goods own price is allowed to change. So what exactly is being held constant? Buyers' income, the prices of other goods, and buyers' tastes, their expectations, and the number of buyers in the market. All of these are frozen as we slide along one curve. And if any of those frozen factors changes, the whole demand curve shifts to the left or to the right. That is a completely different event from a change in the goods own price. And it's exactly what Lesson 10.2 is about. One more distinction before we finish. Each individual buyer has their own personal demand curve. If we add up the quantities that all buyers want at each price, we get the market demand curve. And the market demand curve slopes downward too. Summing up many downward-sloping individual curves simply gives another, larger downward-sloping curve. So the law of demand holds for the entire market, not just one person. So come back to our coffee curve. 3 prices, 3 quantities, 1 clean downward-sloping line. And hidden inside it, a spending story that rises and then falls as the price comes down. Let's do a quick check. At a price of 20 shekels, how many packs do buyers want? Reading the schedule, 18 packs. And their total spending is 20 times 18, which is 360 shekels. Let's summarize. Demand is the quantity buyers want at each price. The law of demand says price up, quantity down, so the curve slopes downward. A change in the goods own price is a movement along the curve. And spending equals price times quantity, rising or falling depending on how responsive demand is. The one line to remember, the demand curve slopes down because a lower price makes buyers want more. So what makes the entire demand curve move rather than just sliding along it? 3 big forces: income, the prices of other goods, and tastes. That's the subject of Lesson 10.2. And keep the key distinction firmly in mind. A change in the goods own price moves you along the curve. A change in anything else shifts the whole curve. Confusing these two is the most common mistake in all of demand analysis. If this lesson helped, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share it with someone who's studying economics. And to keep getting extra materials, join our members club, where you'll find the full quiz library, fully worked solutions, and more practice questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.